Tucker Carlson is a fraud, and I'm going to show you a couple things today to prove that. Now, he talks about one group in a very different way than he talks about the January 6th protesters, rioters, whatever you want to call them. But he's been caught on tape saying they're peaceful. There's texts caught disagreeing with Trump. I just think he's a liar overall, and it's pointless to listen to anything he says. Let me just show you a couple of videos and then show you how different he responds to each situation.
These are the pictures you've seen of January 6th. They're familiar because they've been playing on a loop on every media outlet in America for the last 2 years. There's a reason for that. But it turns out there's quite a bit of video you haven't seen. And that video tells a very different story about what happened on January 6th. More than 40,000 hours of surveillance footage from in and around the Capitol have been withheld from the public. And once you see the video, you'll understand why. Taken as a whole,
I don't think I have to explain why showing a video of people being peaceful, just walking around and just pretending like you didn't see the first couple of clips. I don't care if the media showed only the aggressive clips because that's all that really matters. It happened, right? It happened. And I don't even understand what he's trying to say. They're trespassing. They're breaking the law. I don't care if you break into my house and you clean my house. Why the hell did you break into my house? It doesn't make any sense. So I don't understand his argument other than he's really trying to just paint a narrative for whatever reason. I don't know why he's trying to argue this. Now, let me show you how he talks about another group of people. He has a very different way to explain this.
actually, but if this continues, it will not be a great place. Normal people will leave. So who's doing this to our city? Strictly speaking, you know the answer. It's BLM and Antifa, crazed ideologues, grifters, criminals, antisocial thugs with no stake in society, and nothing better to do than hurt people and destroy things. Those are the ones you see on TV. Every country has people like that. It's part of the human condition. America always has had people like that. What's changed is that the destroyers now have the full support of our professional class. That's what's different. The Democratic Party coddles the mob you see on TV. Our elites fund the Democratic Party. That's how it works. Consider the
So in that video, he calls them thugs, he calls them a mob, antisocial, everything in the book. Now, I don't necessarily disagree. Okay, some of the people I don't agree with anything that causes vandalism or whatever, and he says as much about some of the January 6th rioters, right? But when he's talking about it, he's saying the majority of them didn't mean to do anything, right? Neither does the majority of BLM. So what's your point here? He didn't speak about it in the same light. He didn't try to play any defense for him. And that's what I'm trying to point out. Why are you playing defense? And then he goes on to say, well, see, the Democrats coddle him and whatever. Okay, what are you doing right now for the Republicans? My whole point is just to show, and this is my whole problem with the Democratic and Republican Party. They do, they do play narratives and they do these things, but one thing is one thing and another is another. And I just don't understand how you can sit there and argue that January 6th was peaceful at all, or wasn't what the media portrays. And to be clear, I don't support BLM, the organization, and Tifa, whatever. I don't agree with what they're doing either when it comes to those things. But to try to paint that as the majority or and put that as a narrative and then play defense for this other thing and then claim this and that, it just shows so many inconsistencies. And then I'm gonna also show um a couple reports showing his text. So his text came out, he's talking about Trump, he's talking about what else did he say? The election, and then the chairman of Fox News, Rupert Murdoch. Actually, I don't know if you guys know this. They're getting sued by the people who make the voting machines, and so he was in a deposition, I think last month. And what happened was he ended up throwing up all his commentators under the bus and saying, "Well, we never endorsed it as a network. Maybe we should have told them, hey, to calm it down, but that's not our fault. That's the commentators." which is crazy to me, but that's what they're trying to go with. I'll go ahead and show you some of those messages right now. So here we have, I don't think there's evidence of voter fraud that's swung the election. There's info here and there showing fraud, but not the amount required to swing the election to Biden. I'm sure Trump campaign will put out 10 obituary examples that is real evidence of something wrong with the system, but certainly not evidence that election was stolen. Problem is, like with Russia's story, the liberals interpreted the little true tidbits as meaning Trump actually colluded. And of course, nuance is hard on cable. These will be a tough 2 months. Yep, all true, but it's bad for the country to have this much doubt and suspicion. This is exactly why people believe in conspiracies. We need some sort of audit to settle it to the extent it can be settled. Is anyone responsible for suggesting that? Tucker Carlson is a fraud, and I'm going to show you a couple things today to prove that. Now, he talks about one group in a very different way than he talks about the January 6th protesters, rioters, whatever you want to call them. But he's been caught on tape saying they're peaceful. There's texts caught disagreeing with Trump. I just think he's a liar overall, and it's pointless to listen to anything he says. Let me just show you a couple of videos and then show you how different he responds to each situation.